If you've ever had a run-in with a power-hungry HOA Karen, you'll want to hear this, because what started as a nosy neighbor trying to bully me out of my own property turned into one of the wildest showdowns of my life. And trust me, you'll want to stick around until the end for the twist that made her regret ever crossing me. And before I dive in, make sure you smash that subscribe button, because stories like these come with the kind of lessons you don't want to miss. I never thought moving into a nice neighborhood with an HOA would lead to chaos, but if you've ever had one of those neighbors who seems to believe they run the entire block, you'll understand the nightmare I was about to walk into, because right across the street from me lived the woman we all ended up calling Karen, the type who peeked out her blinds at every car that drove by, wrote letters about grass length, and acted like the HOA rules were her personal commandments written in stone. And for the longest time I tried to avoid her, kept my head down, paid my dues, trimmed my lawn, minded my business, but she had this son, early 20s, spoiled rotten, constantly speeding down the road in some beat-up sedan. And apparently she decided that my spotless, lifted, shiny black F-250 truck was destined to be his, except there was just one tiny problem. It was mine, fully paid off, title in my name, and the one vehicle I worked overtime shifts for years to afford. And it wasn't just transportation to me, it was pride. It was sweat, it was my hard-earned reward. So when she started making little comments like, "Such a nice truck, shame it's always parked out here, my son could put it to better use," or, "It doesn't fit the aesthetic of the neighborhood, maybe you should think of downsizing," I laughed it off, thought she was joking, but boy was I wrong, because one Saturday morning when I was washing it in the driveway, her son strutted over, leaned against the hood like he owned it, and said, "Pretty soon this baby's gonna be mine, Mom says so," and I snapped. Told him to get his hands off my paint before I lost it, but he smirked, and that was the first red flag I should have paid more attention to, because the next week I came home to find a bright orange HOA violation ticket taped to my door claiming that oversized vehicles are not allowed to be permanently parked in the driveways, which was hilarious because literally 3 houses down someone had an RV parked that had been there for months without a word, and when I called the HOA office, they told me someone filed a complaint. And I didn't need Sherlock Holmes to know exactly who it was, but fine. I moved the truck into the garage just to shut them up, even though it barely fit, and that's when things escalated, because 2 nights later I heard noises outside, peeked through my blinds, and caught her son actually trying to get into my truck with what looked like a Slim Jim tool, and I ran out yelling, phone in hand recording, and he bolted across the street into their house while his mom opened the door pretending to scold him. But when I said I had it on video and was calling the cops, she screamed back that I was harassing a child, and that community property laws mean you can't keep that thing if the HOA votes against it, which made zero legal sense but showed just how delusional she was. And sure enough, the very next day, 2 police cruisers pulled up in front of my house, officers knocking on my door saying they'd received a report that I was driving a stolen vehicle and harassing minors, and my blood pressure shot through the roof until I calmly invited them in, showed them my title, registration, proof of purchase, and of course the video of her son trying to break in, and the officers exchanged looks, apologized, and left. But that wasn't the end. Oh no, because Karen wasn't done. She doubled down, sending me threatening wall letters claiming my membership could be revoked, that my truck would be towed, even had the audacity to leave a handwritten note in my mailbox saying, "Sign the transfer papers to put it in my son's name or else." And at that point I decided I wasn't going to just roll over, so I reached out to a close friend who happened to work as an assistant to the state attorney's office, explained everything, sent them all the evidence, and they told me to hold tight and keep documenting. And that's when the real fun began, because a week later, I set up a couple of security cameras around my driveway and garage. And wouldn't you know it, at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday, Karen herself marched over in her robe, dragging her half-asleep son, and actually tried to pry open my garage door keypad, whispering loudly about, "Once we get it, it's ours, he can't take it back," and the cameras caught every second, crystal clear. And when I stepped out, lights on, holding my phone on speaker with my friend from the state attorney's office listening in, her face went pale, but instead of backing off she started screaming, calling me a thief, claiming the HOA had voted my truck community property, and that she was enforcing the rules, which was the dumbest lie I'd ever heard. but the cops arrived within minutes this time because my friend had already tipped them off. And when they saw the footage and heard her ranting, they put her in cuffs right there in the cul-de-sac while her son bawled on the lawn. And the neighbors came outside recording, some even cheering because apparently she'd been terrorizing everyone for years. And it didn't stop with an arrest, because once the state attorney himself got wind of the situation, they hit her with attempted grand theft auto, filing false police reports, harassment, and even tampering with HOA documents since she had forged some vote results to make it look like the neighborhood wanted my truck gone, which was laughably fake. And the best part was when it all went to court and she tried to represent herself, ranting about how the HOA is the government here, and neighbors have rights to redistribute assets. The judge nearly choked trying not to laugh, and when my friend presented the video evidence along with the harassment trail of letters, the case was basically sealed. She was found guilty, fined heavily, and banned from holding any HOA position ever again, while her son got slapped with probation and community service. And as for me, I not only got to keep my truck safe and sound, but the HOA board issued me a formal apology for ever entertaining her nonsense, and several neighbors actually voted her family out of the association entirely, forcing them to sell the house and move, which felt like poetic justice. And the day the moving truck pulled away, I sat on my porch sipping iced tea, watching as Karen scowled from the passenger seat, her empire of control crumbling, while I fired up my F-250 with the loudest engine roar just to remind her whose vehicle it really was. And if there's one thing I learned from all of this, it's that bullies only win when you stay quiet, but when you stand your ground, document everything, and have the law, and maybe the state attorney, on your side, even the worst HOA Karen can't steal what you've worked for. And let me tell you, that was the sweetest victory ride of my life.